Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and we are so excited to see you all to be connected on this virtual career fair today, especially for the government agency. So today we will have an amazing session for you, organized by National Institute of Statistical Sciences. So my name is Chen, so it's my honor to be the moderator today. So I'm a research associate currently working for NISS, and also for a government agency, that USDA NASS. So first, let's start off by just some acknowledgement and introduction on why we are here. So I'd like to thank Megan and others from NISS who's making this career fair happen. So there's a lot of work behind on this, and they are the one who making this happen. And also, thank you so much for all the speakers. We have this amazing panelist for showing up today and to take time out of the day and helping us today, sharing the experience working in the federal government so that others may have better understanding and be better prepared for the work for a government agency. So, let's jump into the session. I'd love to introduce first quickly about schedule. I think you can see it from the agenda. So today we have 3 speakers. Each of them, they have 15 to 20 minutes long for the presentation. And after that, we will have the Q&A at the end. So if you have any question, just feel free to type in the Q&A if you can see on the bottom. So there's a Q&A session, so you can just type the question there. Well, before that, I kind of want to test out. So if you want to test, you want to try, you can just type in the chat box about where you're currently located and see. So I know we are all from different locations. So personally, I'm from Northern Virginia, close to DC area. So, oh, hey. Someone from Michigan, Missouri, and Pennsylvania. Oh, that's amazing. And see the Zoom and this platform that allows us to connect from different places, right? So through the virtual. And yes, the Q&A session works. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that said, I hope everything is clear at this moment. And let's jump into our first speaker, Dr. Chachi Fan. So Dr. Chachi Fan is the Director of the Office of Data Development and Standards in the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, BTS. She leads BTS data development programs, including data collections from surveys and alternative data sources to support transportation decision-making. She also guides BTS efforts in statistical standards, data quality, and confidentiality protection. Prior to joining BTS in 2019, she has had professional experience with multiple federal and private organizations, including Federal Communications Commission, U.S. Census Bureau, Energy Information Administration, and the RAND Cooperation. So Dr. Fan has a PhD in natural resource and environmental sciences and a master in statistics from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So thank you so much, Dr. Fan. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Let me bring up my screen, my slides, and hopefully it works. Okay, here we go. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. And this is where the test is. Let's hope it works. All right, here we go. All right. My name is Chachi Fan. I'm the Office Director of Data Development and Standards here at BTS, Bureau of Transportation Statistics. It is my pleasure to be here talking to you about BTS programs and the career opportunities. In the next 15 minutes, I would like to introduce you who BTS is, what we do, what it is like working for BTS and what kind of skills we are looking for and our current opportunities. BTS, Bureau of Transportation Statistics, is one of the 13 federal principal statistical agencies. The principal statistical agencies are guided by Office of Management and Budget. The objective of a principal statistical agency is to independently collect, compile, process, and analyze data for the statistical purpose. So we not only provide unbiased national statistics to the public, we also protect the confidentiality of the data that's provided by our respondents. BTS is the Statistical Agency of Transportation. It was established by law in 1991 and funded in 1992. And we are the smallest of the 13. We are only about 75 full-time employees in BTS. And you can see here is a picture of our headquarters in Navy Yard in Washington, D.C. You probably have heard about the other BTS who are a lot more popular and lively than we are. I would want to think that we are the original BTS. We published our first album in 1993. You can see on the screen. It doesn't include any songs, but it has a lot of transportation data. BTS programs cover all modes of transportation. We provide unbiased and reliable national statistics to the general public on transportation. So I will use a few minutes to go through some of the example programs that we have in BTS. Just a couple weeks ago, we published the latest vehicle inventory and use survey with a partnership with the Census Bureau. It is the principal data source of physical and operational characteristics of the U.S. truck population. So give you a sense of why this data collection is so important. The last bias collection was 2 decades ago. The analysts and the decision makers were still using the 2002 data to draw inference for very, very important transportation decisions. So therefore, we work with the Census Bureau, Federal Highway Administration, and Department of Energy to bring back this important data source, and it was published a couple of weeks ago. And with the increase on the electric vehicle conversation, and we also find that it is important to collect information on the EVs. So currently, BTS is putting out a data collection on the EV. We call it Electric Vehicle Inventory and Use Survey. And this will be the first national statistics of EVs. With the Federal Highway Administration support, we produce the freight analysis framework. It is a comprehensive picture of freight movement among states and the major metropolitan areas by all modes of transportation. And it provides really important information to the policy and decision makers and for their state and local freight and infrastructure planning. Have you ever wondered that where the sidewalks or bike lane or curb ramps are? So BTS is right now coordinating with many other government agencies, non-for-profit organizations, private companies, and academia to pull together a geospatial data layer that includes those information. And ultimately, the data users will have access to those information through our National Transportation Atlas database. And have you ever purchased anything from Amazon? The e-commerce phenomenon is changing how U.S. economy is operating. It has direct influence on not just the freight flow, but on the transportation itself. If you think about it, if we are receiving the packages at our doorstep, this changes how the transportation, how the traffic pattern is like, And this will also change the infrastructure needs. And currently, BTS is looking into all the different data sources that are available to us on e-commerce, and also considering pulling together a data program to look into those household logistic data. And I also want to mention a fun fact that BTS is home to National Transportation Library, which is one of 5 national libraries in the US. The most famous library in the US probably is the Library of Congress, and we are one of the 5. All right. So what is the statistics career path at BTS? Just like many other federal agencies, that we are on the GS scale. For the non-supervisory positions, non-supervisory statisticians, data scientists, economists, we have the position through from GS9 to GS14. And for the managers and the leadership, they are GS15 and above. We also hire fellows and interns through various different programs. So again, that I mentioned earlier, BTS is a very small agency, but we have a very big mandate, and transportation is such a big subject. There are many challenges, and that also means there are many opportunities. And like many other federal agencies, we provide packages and the work environment to balance your life as well. Again, that we are a small agency, but we are mighty. Small agency also means that we are a large family. We work together like a big family. So I want to mention some of the desirable skills that we are looking for the statisticians, economists, and the data scientists. I put them into 4 different buckets: computation skills, statistic skills, research skills, and the soft skills as well. And we are looking, those new hires that we're looking for, we hope to see some of the skills in each bucket. So for example, that we are dealing with very large data sets. So we are looking for someone who has good computational skills to help us to do the data ingestion, to check the data format, checking the errors, doing the visualization. And we also do a lot of spatial analysis. We are looking into machine learning and the AIs as well. In the statistic bucket, we're looking into all kinds of different statistical skills: sampling, estimation, imputation, modeling, the multivariate analysis, cluster analysis, small area estimation, time series, spatial analysis. And we are looking into all kinds of different ways to improve our data collection efficiency and improve the data quality as well. So we would hope to see someone with really good research skills to help us to look into those different areas. And the most importantly, the soft skills, that we love to have someone who has great time management skill, good problem solving skills, and most importantly, a good team player. So here I'm showing you some of the current openings that we have in BTS. We are hiring some statisticians to help us with the survey data collection programs and also help with the data analysis, some economists to look into different aspects of the transportation, for example, transportation finance, or the freight analysis, freight modeling. And we are also looking into some transportation specialists who can help us to analyze the transportation data. So those postings, those positions are hired through our direct hire authority. And when you go to the USA job website, you probably will only find 1 or 2 very generic posting on the from DOT for mathematics statistician or survey statistician or economist or transportation specialist. They are not specific to those positions. So if you are interested in working with us, please email your resume directly to btsjobs@dot.gov, and someone will contact you from there. So here I have some information for everyone. Our webpage, www.bts.gov/jobs. You can find the most updated information over there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at btsjobs@dot.gov. And I'm also listing 2 programs that we usually hire the fellowship and interns from. We work with the Oak Ridge Institute for Science in Education to hire some fellows. So if you're interested in the short-term career opportunities, that's a good one to consider. And you will also find a lot of listings from other different statistical agencies as well. We also have an internship program. If you're only looking for working during the summer, that's another good opportunity for you as well. Right. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions, and please feel free to reach out to me. And here's my email address. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fan. I love that song comparison. I know BTS. Here is the most original one. And then, yeah. I think in the Q&A, we do have questions. So if you, Dr. Fan, if you want to just type, that would be great. If not, then we can go through at the end. Okay, so thank you again. So let me introduce our next speaker, Dr. Shanti Gomatam. Dr. Shanti Gomatam has worked for the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research and the Center for Device and Radiological Health of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration collectively for over 20 years. She is currently with the division that deals with quantitative safety in CDER Office of Biostatistics. She had wide-ranging statistical interests, including methodologies associated with randomized clinical trial and observational studies, with a recent focus on causal inference. Prior to joining the FDA, she had positions at University of Florida, the University of South Florida, and the National Institute of Statistical Sciences. Thank you and welcome, Dr. Gomatam. The floor is yours.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. Let me see, let me know if you can see my slides.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. So thanks so much for that nice introduction, and I'm very happy to be speaking to you all today about working at the FDA. This, by the way, is a picture of our of the building at the entrance. I think it's either building 1 or 2 or a combination of the 2 of our White Oak campus. And what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to introduce a little bit to the Food and Drug Administration. I will talk about the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research that I work at. I will discuss opportunities and responsibilities of statisticians. I will discuss research and other opportunities that we have and opportunities to work for the FDA. So just quickly, FDA at a glance, and this changes over the years. So the FDA is responsible for the oversight of more than 2.1 trillion in consumption of food, medical products, and tobacco. And as of 2023, the FDA regulated products accounted for about 15 cents of every dollar spent by US consumers. In 2019, that was 20 cents. So it varies over the years. And there are over 20,000 prescription drug products approved for marketing, and there are approximately 671 FDA licensed biologic products. So we touch our life in many ways. So the FDA ensures that foods are safe, wholesome, sanitary. It ensures cosmetics and dietary supplements are safe and properly labeled. It ensures that human and veterinary drugs and vaccines and other biological products and medical devices are safe and effective. We also regulate tobacco products, and we generally advance public health by helping to speed product innovation. So we're located just outside the Beltway. So this is the Beltway around Washington, D.C., and we're up there. Our White Oak campus is up there in Silver Spring. So you have access to DC and all the interesting things that happen there, in addition to Maryland and Virginia. This is an aerial view of our White Oak campus, and the building that I showed on the first slide is this one out here. And here is generally how we're organized. So the office, under the Office of the Commissioner, there are multiple centers of the Food and Drug Administration, the Center for Biologics Evaluation Research, that's CBER, the Center for Device Evaluation and Radiological Health, that's CDRH, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, Center for Tobacco Products, Center for Veterinary Medicine, the Oncology Center of Excellence, and the Office of Regulatory Affairs. So I will be focusing on the Center for Drug Evaluation Research, in which I work. So what is the mission of the, what does the Center for Drug Evaluation Research do? First of all, a drug is an article other than food that's intended for use in diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of diseases, and to affect the structure or function of the body. So this includes prescription products, over-the-counter products, biological therapeutics, and generics and biosimilars. And we ensure that these products are safe and effective and available for improving public health. Sorry, I'm having trouble advancing my slide. There we go. So within CDER, our organization, so there's the Office of New Drugs, Office of Surveillance and Epidemiology, and the Office of Translational Science, in which the Office of Biostatistics is located. And then we also have an Office of Generic Drugs. So within OTS, the Office of Biostatistics is one of 4 different offices, and I will focus on the Office of Biostatistics. So what are the responsibilities and opportunities of statisticians in CDER? So we have, the way we are organized, we have 10 different divisions. So 9 divisions that do review, and the Division of Analytic and Informatics that supports the review. So divisions 1 through 5 and 9 actually assist with specific therapeutic areas. So for example, Biometrics 1 helps psychiatry, medical imaging, neurology, 2 neurology divisions, and anesthesia, analgesia, addiction. Divisions 5 and 6 deal with oncology. But these 3 divisions, 6, 7, and 8, are slightly different. So 6 does a lot of preclinical farm tox, chemical and biotechnology studies, and controlled substance studies, and cardiac safety studies. Division 7, that's the one that I'm in currently, deals with safety across the board. But just to be clear, all of these therapeutic area divisions also look at safety in their own areas. My division looks at special safety issues in the pre and post market. I will talk to you slightly a little more about what pre and post market mean a little later. And then Division 8 deals with generics. So here is our mission and vision. It's to provide CDER and other internal and external stakeholders with statistical leadership expertise and advice to foster development of safe and effective drugs and therapeutic biologics for the American people. So we want to protect the public health by applying statistical approaches for monitoring the effectiveness and safety of marketed drugs and therapeutic biologic products. And we are recognized for excellence in the application and communication of statistical science in drug regulation and development. And we play a central role in innovative science-based quantitative decision-making throughout the drug development cycle. So we have currently, I think, about 230 statisticians. This is a picture from one of our virtual, normally we do actual physical pictures, but over the last 2 years, we've had virtual OB Science Days. So in fact, this week on Friday, we will have our annual OB Science Day. And this is a picture from the last capture. So what does an OB statistician do? So basically, we work at various levels in performing statistical reviews to evaluate drug and biologic development in terms of assessing safety and effectiveness. We need to understand the key laws and regulations and apply them. We participate in advisory committee meetings. We contribute to policy and guidance development. We do research on statistical issues relevant to drug regulation. We attend and present at scientific meetings and conferences. And we are continuously developing ourselves professionally. And we also teach non-statistical reviewers and mentor new reviewers. So I'll skip over this. I just want to mention here that the FDA deals with interstate commerce. So we deal with the regulation of interstate commerce. And we generally work in review teams that include various different expertises. Typically, there always are medical officers, statisticians, pharmacologist, clinical pharmacologist, and then there are lots of other disciplines as needed. So the key reviews, one of the key types of reviews that we do is what's called the review of an investigational new drug. So before a sponsor, which a sponsor includes typically pharmaceutical companies, but it could also include other institutions like NIH, for example, or other people who want to do studies, experimental studies on humans using drugs and biologics that are regulated by CDER. So if they plan to do such a study to support a drug that's being marketed that is planned to be marketed in the US or planned on US subjects, then they need to submit a protocol and statistical analysis plan for review. So we go over all of these and provide comments on the design, the analysis. And then when the study is completed, or sometimes when they're ready to do a post-market study, once again, we review the protocol, the correspondence that has happened between the agency and the sponsor, and we look at the study report. So if it's a completed collection of clinical studies to support an application, then there is a clinical study report that comes with it. We review the data and replicate key analyses, and we perform additional analyses as needed. And we review the proposed labeling that finally, so the labeling is a key contribution that we make to the final product. So the label that you get to see that you have to sign off on when you pick up a prescription, you have to sign off to say whether you requested the pharmacist's information on it or not. That review, that label is something that the FDA spends a lot of time working on. And then we present our findings and write statistical reviews, evaluating the evidence supporting the application. When it comes to post-marketing safety reviews, so sometimes we approve a drug, but we still have some outstanding concerns that we think have not been completely addressed in the initial approval. So in the pre-market setting, we have, when we say approve, we mean that we have allowed it to be marketed in interstate commerce in the US. But we may still have some outstanding concerns, in which case we request that the company sometimes we request that the company do studies, and sometimes we have studies that are carried out by the adverse event reporting system. And we also have a Sentinel initiative that allows us to query large databases like electronic health records and insurance claims and so on. And we might request the conduct of epidemiological studies. So we also review generic drugs. the farm talks of drugs, chemistry, manufacturing and controls, and drug abuse potential and abuse deterrence studies. We are often key members in presentations that are made to advisory committees, and advisory committees are panels of experts that the FDA convenes when we have questions. Often it is limited to a particular submission. So we have questions on a submission. Sometimes, generally, if it's the first of a kind, we take it to advisory committee, or if there are certain questions that we have. Sometimes we also take questions on classes of drugs or biologics to the advisory committee. So we seek the advice of these experts and then use their information to make our decisions. So generally, OB statisticians prepare for and often present at these advisory committee meetings. And the statistical issues are often critical to the discussion of safety and effectiveness and benefit risk. It can be on validity of surrogate endpoints, on the statistical versus clinical significance, missing data and sensitivity analyses, and on subgroup analyses. So different kinds of issues come up in different advisory committees. We also take part in the creation of guidance documents. So this is CDER's way of disseminating policy, and we often play a leadership role on many of the guidances, and sometimes we are contributors to guidances led by other offices. And so there is a lot of opportunity for leadership and making contributions via being a member or a chair of the guidance working groups. And we disseminate policy also through publications and internal and external seminars, workshops, conferences, etc. So we have several working groups. I've listed some of these working groups for you here. There are some that have already published guidances: non-inferiority, adaptive designs, multiple endpoints, meta-analysis, and covariate adjustment. There are topics for future guidances, and there are working groups. And this Estimand working group is one that I am on the leadership team of. And although this group has not written a guidance, there is a guidance by the ICH, the International Council for Harmonization, on estimands that is also implemented by the FDA. And there are lots of other areas that there are working groups on. Some of these might end up in writing guidances. So what are the opportunities? What are the research opportunities? So often interesting statistical problems come up in our regulatory work, and we can choose to work on them. Sometimes, and I've done this in the past, we use, so before I go to that, so there is always an opportunity to collaborate either internally or externally. We work with members of the pharmaceutical industry and academia. We have lots of opportunities to interact with them through, we meet them through conferences and so on. And then we also have internal funding through RSR grants and, as mentioned earlier, the Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Education, the ORISE fellowship program. We hire interns, generally summer interns, students who are close. For both of these, we generally hire students who are close to graduation. And just to let you know, most of our reviewers are PhD statisticians, and our analysts are typically master's level statisticians. And of course, we attend and present at internal and professional meetings. We have opportunities to teach internally and externally. We have multiple courses that we teach internally: basic statistical methods, intermediate and advanced statistical methods. There's a course on the introduction to the review of clinical trials. And there are external courses that we offer either at conferences or at local universities. And also, I wanted to mention that we have we can work with external agencies also through what we call so you can work as an FDA member, that's different, but you can also do it as an outside activity. And for that, you would need clearance, but I know there are FDA folks who teach at, who serve as faculty at local universities as outside activities. We mentor ORISE fellows, we can become team leaders or supervisors, and we can lead or participate in working groups or committees and contribute to regulatory guidances and policy. The one good thing about the FDA is that we have good work-life balance. We are constantly training, so we have lots of experts. So in addition to the courses that we take, sometimes at conferences and so on, we have a lot of internal training. There are many experts within the FDA, and there are experts who come from outside the FDA. So we're constantly training. And we have flexible schedules and flexible workplace arrangements. The health insurance, I'm sure you've heard, federal insurance is good insurance. And there are performance awards, student loan repayment programs, retirement benefits, commuting and transportation programs. We have a fitness center on campus. We have lots of extracurricular activities that you can participate on. What people like a lot about the FDA is the importance of work. So there is no doubt every day when you come into work, you are making a positive difference to public health. We collaborate across many disciplines, and I think most statisticians are statisticians because they do like to work across multiple disciplines. And we have a lot of different roles and responsibilities, and we do have work-life balance. So in what kind of positions can you work on at the FDA? If you're a faculty member, there's the possibility to collaborate in research with FDA staff. You can serve as a special government employee, either to consult on specific projects or provide expert opinion on FDA guidances. You can serve on advisory committees. These are generally 3 to 5 year assignments in specific areas. So we have different advisory committees for different areas. If you're not a faculty member, if you're a student, you could attend an advisory committee meeting. These are public meetings and they're announced. So you can, if you Google the FDA advisory meetings, you can get to the calendar. You can, if you're a student who's close to graduation, you can apply for an ORISE fellowship. And you can apply for a job. We're always looking for people, except when there's a government freeze. There are a few times when that has happened, but typically we're always looking for mathematical statisticians and statistical analysts. Regardless of citizenship or visa status, you can write email to otshires@fda.hhs.gov, or you can write to me. I'll put up my email later. And these links are live. I will post these slides on the NISS website later, so you can click on the links and get to them. And there are also a couple of other flyers that I will post that contain more information. And these are some questions that NISS wanted us to address, and I think I've already addressed some of them, but I'll just go through them quickly. What are the job opportunities for statisticians or data scientists and analysts? Some of my slides covered that. So we have internships, analysts and reviewer positions at various levels. You can serve as team leads and supervisors, and for faculty and senior statisticians, you can be AC members. I think this is IPAs are personnel agreements or special government employees. And it would be good to have strong statistical foundation, statistical programming skills, and the ability and willingness to learn new methodology, because the methodology is brought in by the sponsors or the applicants, and we are constantly learning new things. And it's very critical to have good communication and collaboration skills. So typically, recent PhD graduates start out as reviewers or analysts and progress to senior reviewers or analysts, and then potentially master reviewers or master analysts. And then you could also serve as team leads and have supervisory positions for those interested in management roles. So we're always hiring, like I mentioned. And what advice would I give to students? I would say communication and collaboration skills are critical. I would suggest that you be adaptable and keep an open mind and be willing to always learn. So that's all I had. Thank you. Questions, I think we postponed for later. I wanted to leave you with this DC area buses. We run ads on them, and my boss actually captured this picture. That's the end of my presentation. I will put myself on mute.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us such great and detailed presentation for FDA. So yeah, still, I think we already have some Q&A. Feel free, just answer by typing, or we can leave at the end. Some of them might be kind of specific to FDA. So, okay. So let's welcome our next speaker, Mr. Jonah Wong. Mr. Jonah Wong is a mathematical statistician at U.S. Census Bureau and has coordinated the recruitment and the retention programs for methodology staff for the past 12 years, and managed a study on decennial operation for the previous 3 years. Before the Census Bureau, Jonah was an educational researcher at a community college in California for over 17 years. Jonah has a master in statistics from California State University, East Bay, and earned his undergrad degree in statistics from the University of California, Berkeley. Welcome.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon, and thank you so much for the wonderful welcome, and thank you for the former panelists, Chachi and Shanti. Actually, Shanti, can you stop sharing so I can put up my slides, please? Thanks. And thank you very much for doing all the heavy lifting, for explaining a lot before I even get to my slides. All right. Go. I think this that work.
Yes, that's nice.
Okay, good. All right. So, you're interested in statistical work. Hopefully, you know, the U.S. Census Bureau of the 13 federal statistical agencies is the largest one. We employ many people. I'll get to that in one of my slides later. And you know, we are the largest concentration of statisticians, methodologists, survey methodologists in the entire world. So we do a lot of work. And what do? Basically, we just count people and corporations and governments and places. You know, that takes a lot of professional staff. So let's see. So this is how we organize. So our main focus in production is, of course, the decennial census. That's the one you've heard about, and we do that, you know, every 10 years. We do employ an army of people, literally an army of people, every 10 years to accomplish that goal. However, continuously we have demographic surveys all the time, the American Community Survey. We also have the economic census every 5 years, and we have a census of local governments, and we count many things. We also have a research and methodology area that do studies on all the issues and hopefully optimizations that we can make with our production areas. And of course, the Army of People I talked about, that is field operations. And the other administrative and communications areas that help do our job, make it a little easier. So of these areas, who employs the statisticians? Just about all of them, really. Even if their main job is not statistics related, they do employ people who use the data and help make everyone's jobs easier. So who do we employ? Our main the way that we break it down, at least my 5-minute segment about this is the survey statisticians, the 1530 series. They're involved with the execution of methodology. The mathematical statisticians, 1529s, are involved with the methodology. And now we have our data scientists who inform the methodology with the data that we collect, or other data that we do collect from other sources. Let's see, and we also have I was when I came to the census, I didn't even know we had economists, or even we have such a large organization. We have operations research analysts, and we have psychologists that help us with how well a questionnaire should be worded for cognitive studies. Okay, so we'll go to next. So I did talk about how many do we employ, and where do we employ them. So our headquarters is located in Maryland, just outside of DC. And we typically, we are kind of cyclical funding, so we vary between 4,000 to 6,000 employees during the decade. And during the census, we could hire up to 650,000 additional temporary staff as well. So let's see, of these employees, how many are statistics employed? We have the surveys, statisticians usually comprise around a third to a half of our permanent employees at headquarters, in fact. And the methodologists, but between 300 to 500, right? And that now we have, we just started hiring the data scientists, and right now we have 19, and we're still hiring more this fall. In fact, we're in the hiring process right now. So let's see, we will go to, and that's pretty much my presentation. I can get to some of the questions so that have been posed previously. So we hire at any level of experience, from junior staff just completing their studies in university with their bachelor's degree, all the way up through PhD just completed, or with lots of experience. We hire anybody who's willing to make the jump from some other discipline in statistics or mathematics or computer science. We, as Shanti mentioned, we have pretty much the same benefits, and we encourage work-life balance. And when we do our interviews, it depends on the position. For the more junior staff, those are more usually corporate oriented. So you might have an interview panel, or you might have a large, you might have to have a whole day where you interview several managers for 1 hour interviews, 4 or 5 on one day. And each of the managers will give their feedback and come to a decision of whether they have a position for them. And often a lot of candidates may have multiple offers from several different areas in the Census Bureau. Let's see, we followed the general schedule from, you can look that up on OPM. And I think that's pretty much all I'm going to cover here. Let me see if there's any questions. Okay, so yes, so with the data scientists, we hire the GS7, which is a bachelor's degree, all the way up to the GS13, I believe, which is a person who has been working for at least 1 year as a GS12. But it's someone with a few years of experience after the degree, and they are ready to either be responsible for their area with to run their data studies, or someone who actually would come from industry and have that experience as well. So yeah, so we hire corporately for the data scientists. We usually have 1 posting or 2 postings per year, and we hire 10 to 15 data scientists at one time. The hiring process could take a little while. It depends on the position, as I said, and there are different processes involved. Generally, once you do know that you are referred to a manager, you will probably hear within 1 month period to if a manager is interested. Generally doesn't have anything to do with you. It's, manager needs to have funding in order to fund a position so that, we can hire you permanently. Okay, I could say a little more about the survey stats. So, what I said about, survey stats are, execute the methodology, mathematical statisticians formulate the methodology, and data scientists inform the methodology. That is not an absolute. There's a lot of sliding scale. We're kind of like on a spectrum. Some math stats can work on, doing some data analysis. Data scientists can, work on some of the methodology formulating. So, it's not strictly, it's just kind of what the area that you get hired in has a need for in particular. Okay. Just to make that a little more vague, I think. There was a question about remote work. So Census Bureau right now is in a period of renovating the headquarters building that we started since sometime during COVID. So we don't expect to be called back to the building until mid 2024. And that's the hope, And with that, I think I'm pretty much done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wong. Yeah, so I think we pretty much have many questions. I think it's also worth to like a discussion among 3 different agencies. Maybe before that, a little bit, I can share some of my experience, rather than as hiring part, but as someone who's working in the federal agency as a contractor. So I didn't see there's a say visa question or citizenship, but I just want to share a little bit in case someone might be interested. So I'm actually an international student when I graduate from my PhD. So I joined NISS. So NISS has opportunity that I can work for the federal agency. So until today, I work almost 4.5 years. So I'm not really like a contractor that I'm really outside. I'm actually doing all hands-on problem. I deal with real data they have. I can say I'm a survey statistician, mathematical statistician, data scientist. So for that question, on my side, I think it's, as Mr. Wong said, it's like mixed sometimes. It's not for just one project. Many projects you work as a team, you have to deal with many different things. And until today, I'm really happy. So, and this is the opportunity for an international student who don't have like a US citizenship or green card at this moment that you can work on. So yeah, so that's some of my experience. So again, still thank you so much, and let's open the floor to the Q&A session. I already see there are many questions already answered. So I think one important thing is we share about, it seems like many people are interested about the hiring process. So are they all the same, or we have different by different agencies? Just share a little bit the insights. Maybe Dr. Fan, you have a...
Sure, I can start. I suspect each agency has our own process. So for BTS, like I mentioned, that we do have a generic posting of the DOT Direct Hire Authority posting on the USA Jobs. We do take resumes from that posting, but we also receive resumes from our email box. And so therefore, if you're interested in working with us, I would suggest that you email us directly and we will contact you. What's the next step usually is that if you are qualified for our positions, we will contact you and schedule an interview with you. And after, we usually go through about at least 2 or 3 rounds of interviews. And finally, we will select the final candidate and make a selection. And that after the selection, you will go through the HR process. And I think most of the HR process is a little lengthy. It's a little bit out of our hiring manager's hand, that the HR will go through the security process with you, and they will give you the offer, and you can of course negotiate the terms a little bit, and that's the interaction you will be having with the HR. Once that you have accepted the offer, there will be some other HR process that's happening in the background. So I would say the process usually take about once you are selected and your name is sent to the HR, that process usually take about a month or 2, I would say. So that's our process.
Yeah, I think, how about FDA and the Census Bureau? I know you already cover some of them already. So it's like the resume, I saw there one question, say if the resume has to be a federal standardized resume, or it can be like normal, any requirements on that?
So Jonah, did you want to start, or?
Yeah, I have an answer on that. So it's up to you, really. It's the federal style resume is much more detailed. It may or may not catch keywords that, you know, HR specialists are looking for your position that you're applying to. And that's pretty much how your applications are, you know, rated and, you know, looked over. So yeah, you may have more detail, but it's a little less, I guess, concise, as you can say. It's just way too much detail sometimes. You know, usually you are fine with submitting a 1-page resume. But most importantly, though, is in your application materials, make sure all your transcripts are submitted for any type of professional work that you want to do that's based on education, such as statistics.
So I'd just like to add to that. So first of all of our jobs would be advertised on USA Jobs, and that would list all the requirements. And if you, like Jonah mentioned, before the resumes get to us, they often go through human resources, and staff there check to see that the keywords are met. So there have been cases in which resumes that would have looked very good to us otherwise didn't get through because certain requirements were not met. So I think that that is important. But what we also do at the FDA is typically we are at the placement booths of major statistical meetings, for example, joint statistical meetings, ENAR, wherever we go, wherever our staff goes, generally we have staff in placement. And so you can do a preliminary kind of interview with them. And then, if you look interesting enough for the positions we have, they would invite you further. But I do think that trying to meet that the specifications on the job advertisement is important. So, try to follow the letter, like the specific requirements. That can often be very important. And like Jonah mentioned, the federal resume is a very complicated, detailed, extremely detailed resume. But sometimes it is required, and that's just what you have to deal with.
I like to add to that as you grow in your career, that would be probably the best time to start constructing a federal resume, because you're doing more projects and you have a lot more detail to add. If you are, straight out of, you're graduating your university, you may not have that detail to put in. So, usually the one page is fine. I mean, unless you have, you're cited on several other papers, maybe, right? But that's more like a CV then.
Thank you so much. I think that the other question, after COVID, which is interested is whether we can remotely work or we have to be on site. Like any remote working opportunity.
I think I will start again. Yes, in BTS, we do offer remote work. You just have to apply and get approval. So I would say about half of BTS is currently remote. So yes, we do provide remote work.
Go ahead, Chen.
Yeah, sorry. So I was going to add that even before COVID, we had what we call telework. So some fraction, and what fraction of your time you spend working off of campus depends, I guess, on your position and so on, how many years you've been there, or because generally newer staff, I think it's recommended that they be on campus more often. But even before COVID, I was spending 50% of my time working from home. During COVID, it was pretty much 100% of the time. Now I've committed to going in 2 days, but they're a little bit relaxed about it. 2 days per week, I mean. So I go in 1 or 2 days a week. And of course, if I'm required to go for some other purpose, then I would always do that. And yes, there are people who are working remotely, but working remotely within the US, and that requires special permission.
All right, I will jump in. So Census Bureau, like as I mentioned, the headquarters is being renovated. The renovation is actually, we're going to convert over to a hotel system. So pre-COVID, we were about, we could have telework, as Shanti said, up to 45 to 50% of the time. However, with the hotel system, we would go up to 80%. That would be the maximum telework that we would be able to do. However, you know, I have heard that, you know, there may be some talk about a remote work policy where some workers, depending on their situation and where they are located, would have a remote work agreement. So then they can, you know, work remotely all the time. So, but that is not a certainty. So, but yeah, however, yeah, right now we are in a remote work situation.
Thank you. I think there's one question kind of related to the education level. So there are several questions. So some of them, they ask if you have any bachelor degree, like entry level statistician, and then the others asking how do the opportunities to master level statistician different from the bachelor and the PhD? So it's like different level. Yeah.
So I can jump in on that if you need. So, you know, typically our reviewers are PhD. Not always, but most of them are PhD. I mean, either statisticians or biostatisticians or some related fields. But we do have some master's level. Our analysts are typically master's level. Interns are generally so there are some centers, I think, which used to or have even high school interns, but typically they're for us, the ORISE interns are typically close to completion of degree, typically PhD candidates. But I know that maybe the Center for Devices or some other centers. So some of the internships can be for undergraduate students, but you'd have to look at them. Those are rarer.
So for the GS level, if I remember correctly, for a person who have just graduated out of college, have a bachelor degree, I believe is qualified for a GS7. And for a master's student who just freshly out of school, just received a master degree, the person is qualified for GS9. And for a PhD, it's qualified for GS11. That's the general rule. But of course, that if the candidate has some experience working in the lab, for example, or working for some professors, we would also consider those experience as well and try to give them a higher grade, or it all depends on the experience that the candidate have.
Hey, so I don't think anyone has explained what a career ladder is. So for the junior staff positions, usually starting at the GS7 level, your career ladder position, you'll see like 7/ and then a higher number. So that means if you perform satisfactorily to your organization, and they approve, you will automatically be promoted to that next position up. So from 7 to 9, after 1 year, you get hired as after your bachelor's, you work 1 year satisfactorily, and your supervisor puts in the paperwork, you get automatically converted to a GS9. And if you work another year at a GS9 level, you can get automatically promoted to 11. And same up to the 12. Generally, it stops at the 12 for the junior staff positions, and then you have to reapply for GS13 position to essentially recompete for it. Sometimes you may encounter 12, 13, and those are usually research positions that I found. And then at the higher levels, the 13 to the 14, and then all the way up to the 15, which is the top of the general schedule scale, you always have to reapply for those positions in general.
So can I just follow up a bit on that, because maybe the FDA is a little bit different. So I don't know of any. So first of all, we hire under two different tracks. One is mathematical statistician, which is 1529, GS 1529, and the other is I think just statistician. That's 1530. And those are slightly different. So if you go, if you just Google OPM and GS, you will see that there are differences in the pay scales in those. And as far as I'm aware, I'm not quite sure about the analysts. Generally, the analysts are master's level people. I'm not quite sure at what level we hire them, but I don't think we hire any statisticians below 12 or 13 level. I could be wrong on that, but typically I don't think that we hire statisticians in OB at 7, 8, and 9. But that's something that could be checked.
Actually, I was just rereading that question, and so the opportunities for the different levels. So if you get hired as a bachelor's degree, you're a GS7, you'll be typically assigned a very specific role to help complete a study that's ongoing. Like you would work on a certain survey, for instance. For a GS9, you have a little more responsibility. You could be involved more with coordinating with other areas in order to help maybe do a redesign of that study. And then PhD, you could be involved with research in how to optimize or make it a little more efficient in order to do the redesign. That's kind of the breakdown of the, and then up to your 12s would be also be able to help be they would lead teams of other professionals of the junior staff. And then the 13s would either generally supervise the junior staff as their first line supervisor, or they would be the technical specialists for that particular discipline or that particular study.
And again, I think that differs from agency to agency, because I think in the FDA, the 12s and 13s and even 14s are reviewers. There are team leaders who are not official supervisors who are at level 14, and then supervisors are at level 15. So I think that differs a bit from agency to agency.
Yeah, I agree that differs from agencies to agencies. So in BTS, we do have some lower level, but we don't usually have GS7. The lowest that we have hired so far is GS9. So for the GS9 staff, those are junior, that their responsibility are like what Jonah mentioned, that you will be assigned a specific assignment and help out with completion of a project. And while you progress along the ladder, you will get more and more responsibility. And usually a GS13 person would be managing a project within BTS, and a GS14 person would be a team lead or a program manager. Although it is still non-supervisory, but it is equivalent to like the census branch chief. So and our managers and senior leaders are GS15 and above.
Thank you. So another, I think, related question is like, what is a day like in your agency? So I think we already mentioned some like work balance and working. So any flexibility in terms of working hours, et cetera, et cetera. yeah, just share some insight.
So I could start on that. I mean, we definitely have flexibility in hours. There are some core hours that the FDA has. I believe they're 10 to 2, when generally people are expected to be at work. But it's pretty flexible, and you can start. Some people start really early and finish at 2. Other people start late and finish late. So that's quite up to you. And of course, you have to be available for the teams that you're working with, right? So it's not good if you're not available in time. And sometimes some things are very time specific, so you have to be more, for example, if it's coming up to an advisory meeting, then there might be questions you have to answer right away. So it depends on what exactly you're doing at any particular time, but generally there is a fair amount of flexibility.
Yeah, BTS is similar to FDA, like Shanti mentioned, that we're really flexible. There is a core hour period and probably a core day. It's defined by different offices. So right now, the federal government is encouraging the workforce to come back more to our building more frequently. So for the DOT employees, that we usually have a core day per pay period. So the remote workers will stay remote, but for the teleworkers, we will gather together on the same day. So we have some time face to face and have some interactions with our colleagues. But in general, we are very flexible. And if there's a need that you need to swap a day, teleworking, that we can always have a discussion with the supervisors, and that can always happen. Yeah, so in general, it's very flexible.
So I like to echo that we do have a thing called MaxiFlex, which we try to work within the core hours, and we are flexible, either earlier or later, or if you need extra time, you could always move your schedule around to accommodate that. As to the work that's being done in day to day, that could vary. It really depends on the position. It depends on who, what area you're working for. What is their production cycle like if you are working in production, or if you're working in the research area. How often do you have to check in with with the people that you are doing research with, in doing your collaborations? So it's really hard how to pin that down, and of course, yeah, the different levels of where you are within that methodology as well. Where you are, and especially we are with the cycles of of how our work is done, right, with the decennial census, for example.
And I just wanted to mention one thing in relation to this. So, of course, we have annual leave and sick leave, and I guess how much of annual leave you get depends on how many years you've worked in the federal government. But there is also in the FDA something, and maybe in other agencies, something called credit time. So I could earn up to 2 hours on a weekday without even checking with my supervisor, but more if I need to after checking with supervisor on weekdays and weekends. And I can bank these up to 24 hours. So I can bank up to 3 days of work that way and use that leave when I choose. So that might be something useful for people to.
Same with census. We also have the credit hour system, that you can accrue if you work extra hours, instead of getting comp time or overtime, which a lot of the agencies are very reluctant to give the overtime rates, and they rather have you earn the credit hours instead.
Though I have to say that during COVID, I mean, many of our staff were very overworked, and so they were encouraged to use the overtime because surely they had gone over their credit time limits.
Right,
so.
right. I mean, it's not that it's impossible. It's just,
Right.
you know, the opportunities.
There's a special form, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Or if you're, traveling for a conference and you have overnight travel, right? That's one way you can earn comp time.
Yeah, same in BTS. I only want to mention that in general, we would like to encourage our staff to really relax after work. Yeah, because you work really hard all day, and after 8 hours, you probably need to relax a little bit, have your brain rest, and so the next day you will come in fresh. So yes, credit hours are available, overtime is available, the comp time is available, and we want to encourage the staff to really have work-life balance and take care of yourself. And if really needed, if the work really needs to be done, those resources are available for you.
Thank you. I think approaching, so maybe just one last question. So kind of like, is the agency provide any, say, training, professional development, or like attending conference? I think Mr. Wong already mentioned like overnight conference, right? So to have provide opportunity for a different level of the people.
Yeah, training and staff development is a key point at BTS that we encourage the staff to go to conferences and take trainings as much as you can. So for example, for statisticians, we would really love you to keep up with the current methodology. So we encourage the staff to go to the joint statistical meetings, Federal Committee on Statistical Methodologies, or take JPSM short course, or if you want to attend, let's say, some of the seminars, webinars, please do so. We really would like everybody to keep up with the current methodology. And we also provide opportunities to be trained on some other different subjects. For example, the project management, we do provide project management courses if you would like to become a project manager, or if you would like to become a core, which is the contracting officer representative. BTS relied on contracts a lot, so we provide annual training for anyone who wants to become a core. So there are a lot of training opportunities.
So at the FDA, there are lots and lots of training opportunities. So not only do we, so typically, so how many conferences and things you go to may vary depending on your role and your level and what you're working on. But typically lately, for example, I go to one out-of-town conference and one local conference. And if I want to go to additional conferences, then, the federal budget is the federal budget. So depending on, it varies from year to year, but typically they've been able to manage these two. Some years might be, you can go to more, some years maybe a little bit less, depends. But so far I've been able to go to one external and one internal conference. There are some conferences that are of particular interest to the FDA. And at those conferences, typically there are also short courses and so on. For example, joint statistical meetings, the DIA Statistics Forum, the ASA Biopharm Regulatory and Industry Workshop. So all of these have courses you can take there. There are lots of internal trainings. So we constantly have experts from academia and industry and other places who want to make presentations at the FDA. So courses are organized maybe by the division, if it's a very division-specific interest, or maybe by the office, or maybe by our division of learning, DLOD. I forget what the rest of it stands for, but it's a division that manages training within CEDAR. And then there are lots of other, we have I think it's every month, a CEDAR scientific seminar. And then we have other seminars. So there are some seminars where external experts come in, some seminars which are internal. And then there are, as I mentioned, advisory committee meetings, which are opportunities to learn. And then we have the internal version of that, which is MPPRC, Medical Policy and Procedures or Regulatory Council, something like that. So there are lots of opportunities. And then, of course, there are the required trainings that we're required to do, like records management and so on. But, I'm talking about technical training. So, yeah, but there are too many trainings and not enough time. So, but often these are all recorded, so I can do them on my own time. So it's good.
I like to, before I guess we've finished, I'd like to echo my colleagues that, in fact, the statistical agencies, we depend on the expertise of our skilled workforce. So usually a significant part of our budget is dedicated for training. I mean, Census Bureau has sponsored students to complete their PhDs, on our dime, because we needed that expertise, in our skilled workforce. So yeah, there are plenty of training opportunities, lots of different programs. There's just too many opportunities almost.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we come to 1:30 now, so I just want to say thank you again so much for your time, for our wonderful presenters, and also for all the participants who join in. So I think we have the same goal of using statistics for a good right. And there are so many amazing opportunities in the federal agency. So of course, if you are really interested, feel free. I think we will share the slides afterwards. And also please answer the survey for email. And we do want to know what's the most helpful and how could we improve for the session like this. So, and again, thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.